bringing you the stories that matter on our Across China segment.
We take you further with our coverage across the Americas and beyond.
We are CCTV America.
It is a major case for British authorities. Two brothers from East London are in prison for attending a militant training camp in Syria.
Landmark case with many others in the pipeline for sentencing, where we have two brothers from East London who have travelled to Syria, have engaged and received terrorist training whilst they're out there, and then returned to the UK.
The older brother is sentenced to 4.5 years in prison, the younger to 3 years behind bars. The duo admitted to conspiring to attend a terrorism training camp back in 2013. NATO says it's not going to consider establishing a no-fly zone in Syria. A top NATO commander said such a mission would require far too many resources, which the alliance is unprepared to commit to at this time.
I'm a big believer in NATO effectiveness and our ability to deal with threats. I do think we need to improve things like our responsiveness, and we're doing that. And we need to enable that transition from fighting long-term counterinsurgency to a more rapidly deployable force that's capable to deal with a variety of threats. But that's just a matter of training. It's not, the baseline is there. The leadership, the competence, the confidence we have in one another is there.
Turkey has the second largest military of NATO. Although it has made no formal request to establish a no-fly zone, it repeatedly said that there should be one in place. It will create safe areas in Syria and allow about 2 million Syrian refugees to be repatriated. In Syria, the civil war is entering its fourth year as Russia pushes for fresh peace talks. Syria's foreign minister arrives in Sochi for a meeting with Russia's president. CCTV's Tom Barton tells us both sides wanted to talk about the Moscow-Damascus partnership.
And the two have remained throughout those 4 years staunch allies. Russia at some times during this conflict pretty much the only country that would stand by President Bashar al-Assad and his forces fighting in Syria, and they have supplied weapons to Assad. Russia, a long-standing supply back to the Soviet Union's days of Syria. They have a naval base on the Mediterranean, leased to them by Syria. Very strong links there, and given the earthquake that came in a geopolitical sense with what is now called the Arab Spring across the Middle East, Russia desperate to hold on to what it sees as a key ally in the Middle East in Bashar al-Assad, and we heard that today. The talks really focused, the headline quote came from Russia saying it would help Bashar al-Assad's government to fight against what Russia calls terrorism. But the key point here is how you define terrorism. We've heard throughout this conflict Bashar al-Assad's forces calling all of the opposition fighters ranged against it terrorists, without exception. And now, with the rise of Islamic State and fighters like that, does Russia mean that it will support Bashar al-Assad's forces against Islam?